perspective, anyone can channel whatever they want to channel because it is part of you and you are part of it.
Mm-hmm. Well, let me ask you this now, kind of skewing you to another subject. You know, we hear so much about 12/21/2012 and about that being the day of ascension. What is your take on that? What do you think about the ascension process?
Well, I have a video actually that I talk about this on my website, and what I talk about is what is the ascension process? Well, the ascension process is not everyone to beam off of the planet. The ascension process is about having us connect to our higher self and bring more of who we are, our godlike, our higher self, into the physical plane. It's about bringing our higher selves down and merging into this planet and into this plane of existence. So,
yeah,
in fact,
but some people are saying that there's going to be spacecraft come over the major cities in the United States and all over the world, and ascend certain individuals, and then put them in a special machine that is going to purify them, and then maybe make them even 20 feet tall. Have you heard of that?
Well, I mean, from my perspective, here's my perspective. Do I believe that there are extraterrestrials that are interacting with our planet today? Yes. I believe they're already here. They're not coming here on December 21st, 2012. They're already here. They've already observed our consciousness and what it is that we're doing with it. And I think that we've seen more evidence of other live or other beings that are here. What are they here for? Some of them, I believe, are watchers. They're here to say, hey, where's humanity going? You know, they're out there in space, and now they got all this space junk. Let's make sure that they don't blow themselves up.
So they're here to watch us, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I do think that there are other beings that are coming here. I think, they're here already and they're interacting. Do I think that on that date people are just going to be removed from the planet? I don't really think that. In fact, that's part of why I'm doing the workshop on December 22nd. I have a workshop that I'm doing, and I'm going to be actually co-facilitating it with Seon via Skype. And it says, if you're still here, now what? If you're here on December 22nd, come to our workshop so we can talk about what are we supposed to be doing next.
Well, what if you're not here? You can't do the workshop.
I plan on still being here.
Well, that's good.
I think we're still going to be here on December 22nd. I don't think anyone's going to beam up off of the planet. I think part of what's happening is we are evolving. And as a species, as we evolve, what we're starting to see on the planet Earth today is you can see the two sides. And they're becoming more vision. Nothing is hidden. Truth is coming to the surface. And from my perspective, December 21st is, what does that date mean? It means that nothing is hidden. The truth is going to be seen.
And the Mayans to their, as far as we know, are basically saying that's their 5,200 year cycle ending. And if there is some sort of disaster, or as we were saying earlier, maybe it's something like Superstorm Sandy or something like that, and then there may be a rebirth. That would be their interpretation of what could happen, but it wouldn't be the complete end. It would be a change. It would be some sort of a
change, and part of that change is to wake up humanity. And what I mean by that is what's really important. If you've ever experienced anything, I've had family that went through Katrina. And when you experience a disaster like that, you really get to the core of what's really important. The only thing you really go into that house and look for are pictures. And you don't care about the stuff. You don't care about the furniture. It's only about those irreplaceable memories or irreplaceable things that you can't replace.
And that's what the people are going through in the Northeast right now, which is just devastating. So,
correct.
But thank you very much for joining us today.
You're welcome.
you're listening to the program or you're in the chat room, Joy is there. So if you have more questions about galactic healing or some of the experiences Joy has had at her store with healing and some of the other metaphysical disciplines that she's been associated with, then please talk to her in the chat room. And with that, we're gonna move very quickly to our next guest. Because our next guest is also about healing. It's also about where the planet is going, and so I'm going to ask: Is Joshua? Are you there on the line?
Yes, I am. I'm here, John.
Very good, very good. Well, thank you for joining us this evening. I really appreciate it. You're in Seattle, Washington. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And can you tell us a little bit about your journey and your journey that brought you to the crystal skulls? If you could do that, I think the audience would greatly benefit from it.
Well, first of all, by definition, a crystal skull is a human-sized and shaped skull made out of quartz crystal, which has been found near ancient ruins, predominantly through Mexico and Central America. However, there are other types of skulls that are starting to come out now out of China and Mongolia and other locations.
But do you think some of the skulls may have been placed there by extraterrestrials or just by some of just the natives?
No, I believe that either there were advanced beings that came from other worlds or other dimensions who saw the crystal skull as a sacred and powerful tool that would help in the transformation and awakening of humanity to their divine essence, or there have been advanced civilizations such as Lemuria or Atlantis who were involved in creating these crystal skulls. And I think in the case of Atlantis, they knew that there would come a point of time in humanity's history, which I believe is 2012 and beyond, where the capability of the skull to hold energy, to heal, to work as computers, to have knowledge, and to empower the individuals they meet, that they would be necessary to assist this planet in a transformation into a golden age.
So you think that 2012 was kind of a bellwether year for a lot of these crystal skulls to be discovered, because it just seems that they have been discovered in the past few years, and there was this great interest in the 13 unearthed skulls that were discovered, and that are now the ancient ones, the really ancient ones that are being toured around the United States and I guess around the globe. And so now you're telling me that there are some that are being discovered in Asia as well.
Yes, there's a different type of crystal skull that's coming out of Asia. Actually, in the conference that we're going to be doing this weekend, one of our speakers will be speaking about the Himalayan skulls that she has, which is made from a different type of quartz. But what we have noticed is I started my connection with the crystal skulls in 1983, and at that point there weren't that many of what are considered very old or ancient skulls that are known, and now all of a sudden within the last few years, coming out of Mexico, coming out of the Far East, are many, many crystal skulls. So that just to me says that we are in the time of times, because why would sacred tools start coming out if they weren't supposed to be used by humanity for a divine purpose?
Well, are these skulls that are being found, are they actually being dug up, or are these new skulls that are being carved?
No, it's a combination of new skulls that are being carved by modern carvers, plus very old skulls that are being found in the ground, especially in Mexico. I mean, I was there in 2009 at a conference, and there were like 40 or 50 skulls I've never seen that carried the energy of, being quite old. And it just, we just keep hearing from more and more people. Another group contacted us recently, did a gathering in October in Mexico of 13 skulls. Again, none of those skulls had we ever seen before. So they're just coming out in every way possible. Plus, the other clue is that there are so many people now who want to have a personal skull, which, of course, the new skulls that are being made, it's much easier for people to get one of those. And, of course, my partner, Katrina, and I, we do help people with that.
So now, I wanted to ask you about these skulls that are being discovered. Are they all sizes, or are they all human size?
No, they're coming with all different shapes and sizes. there isn't like, just one type we're finding. There are hollow skulls. There's skulls that don't look like human beings. There are skulls that look like aliens. There are some that are almost an exact duplicate of the human bone skull. Everything that you can imagine. So there isn't one set. So it used to be fairly easy to keep up with what's going on. Now it's impossible.
Mm-hmm. Well, I haven't told you this in the past, but I was in Arkansas a couple of years ago, and I dug up a quartz crystal that was not a perfect human skull, but it was in the shape of a human skull. It wasn't. When I meet you, I'll show you this crystal. But I felt it was amazing. I think that's one of the reasons why I became interested in crystal skulls. But you were telling me also that you get a lot of skulls out of Brazil. Is that right?
Well, the two key areas where the modern carvers are that a lot of skulls are coming out of is China and Brazil. In Brazil, I think it's because I've been to Brazil. There's a very high frequency of energy there. Every time I go there, all my spiritual gifts get enhanced. And also the crystal, the quality of the crystal and the energy connected to the crystal coming out of Brazil is absolutely amazing. So there are some very talented carvers in Brazil who are making these new skulls, and it's like hundreds or thousands of them are coming out of Brazil.
Mm-hmm. And those are mainly amethyst skulls, is that right?
No, they're every type of quartz crystal you can imagine and other type of gemstones they're creating. So crystal skulls now are not just quartz. They're including all different types of gemstones, and some people have affinity for other gemstones than quartz crystals.
Mm-hmm. Now, I know there was a presentation in Houston from someone that had twin jade skulls from China. Are you familiar with those twins, or are you familiar with that particular set?
Well, if it's the same set that I've seen in Europe, then I would be. Purportedly, there was Genghis Khan as he was conquering different civilizations, which would take us back about 1,000 years ago. He came across some jade skulls and a jade skeleton, and they found this in Mongolia. So part of the jade skulls and the jade skeleton that was found was two twins that were connected, which I've seen. So if it's the same ones, then I'm familiar with those.
Mm-hmm. Now, you would say that each of these crystal skulls, the different types of skulls, emanates a different type of energy. Is that right?
Well, our personal opinion is what's happening is that the crystal skull is acting as an electromagnetic energy vortex, which allows the consciousness of other beings from other levels, whether they're ET or dimensional beings or maybe even beings that live in another dimension on the Earth, to have contact with us and to kind of animate the crystal skull so they seem to be alive. So, for example, we personally have 17 personal skulls. Each one has a unique energy, a unique personality, and a unique way of which they communicate with us. So each one, I think, and this seems to be the purpose of the crystal skulls, is carrying different frequencies of energy. So like as we travel, since the skulls are recording all the frequencies of energies around them, like from sacred sites or other older skulls we meet or special people that we meet, etc., then they have the unique energy as we meet people that will help that person in their spiritual evolution.
Now, as part of that spiritual evolution, would somebody be able to use a crystal skull in their practice of healing, or or just to develop maybe their own psychic gifts, or is it a companionship even? Because I know that the large crystal skulls I've been around, they were very they did have personalities, and it was very interesting. And after you answer that, I'm going to ask you a little bit about the care of a crystal skull and how it should be handled. So, what do you think about using a crystal skull as a device for healing?
I think that is their main purpose, is because they are receptacle of storing, all kinds of frequency and energy. that part of their purpose is not only to heal individuals they have contact with, but to heal the entire planet. For example, on the 13th day of each month at the 13th hour, we do a world peace meditation where we're focusing with the crystal skulls and with people from all over the world who have crystal skulls to send out a loving energy to the planet and all life upon it. So healing is definitely one of their aspects. But everything that you said, it's like they're a jack of all trades. Whatever way a personal crystal skull can assist their guardian or caretaker, that is what they're going to offer to the individual so that they can have be more of a channel of divine frequencies and energy, which would impact the transformation of the earth. So I think they're just like a catalyst.
Now, when you are a custodian of these crystal skulls, what's the best way to handle them? Should you keep them out on display? Should they be in a box, like a wooden box with maybe black felt around them, or what's the best care of them?
Well, actually, there is no one answer to that, John, because they each have their own personality. They will actually communicate with their guardian what's the best way to take care of them. Let me try to illustrate that with some personal examples. For example, there's a crystal skull we have whose name is Portal de Luz, Portal of Light. He likes to experience everything that's possible. So, in other words, when we go out, and especially when we're doing our spiritual work, he always wants to come with us because he wants to experience everything. He hates it when we come home and we're so tired that we just don't have the energy to take all 17 skulls out and reset them up, and then we put them back again together. So sometimes they are very unhappy if we leave them in their cases or their homes. So actually the skull will communicate with the guardian what is the best way to take care of it, how to activate it, how to work with it. They'll make requests. Like Portal de Luz, I remember many years ago after I had him, say for a couple of years, he said, "Dad, I want to see the crop circles." And we were in Europe. So we went to, I believe, 4 crop circles in England and 3 in Holland. And then that seemed to satisfy him. So
well, if I hadn't experienced it myself, I would question you. But I've told you that I'm the custodian now of some smaller crystal skulls, and they do speak to me. And lo and behold, they're in the car with me when I travel. So it's quite amazing.
Right. It's like, they're part of your family. They're part of your life. When we call ourselves, Katrina and I say we're the Crystal Skull Explorers, it's not just us, it's also our crystal skulls too, because it's like we're a united team. It doesn't matter whether we're incarnated in a human form or in a crystalline form or stone form. Everything has consciousness of creator, so it's wonderful.
I have another question for you, and we're going to have to wrap up here in just a moment, but you were mentioning to me at one time about the shape of the human skull, about how it receives energy, and it's been a critical part of our evolution as a species. Can you speak to that?
Ask your question again. I'm not quite following.
Okay. Well, for instance, the shape of the human skull is different than an ape's skull, and you were telling me at one time about how the human skull accepts energy and it allowed it to evolve quicker than maybe the ape.
Oh, okay. I got you. Okay. What I believe is there were higher evolved beings who decided the form which we have as humanity. Whether these are extraterrestrial galactic beings, beings that are on dimensions that we can't even imagine, I'm not totally sure. But the shape of the human skull as it is, I believe, was created because it is a receptor to receive cosmic knowledge and information, similar to the way in which a pyramid works, where if you go 1/3 of the way down from the top of a pyramid, it starts rejuvenating metal and it has special property. So if you put a crystal in the shape of a human bone skull, it means it has the potential to work in a similar fashion, but it still needs to have an interaction and be activated by a human being, and vice versa. And having a skull in that shape working with a human being is going to help that human being to open up more to the cosmic knowledge and the information. So there is a reason why the skull is in this shape, that it's able to receive these levels of energy and knowledge which eventually will come down into the consciousness of the human being and then can be used. So that's what I believe. Is there any chance we have, John, to talk about the conference this weekend?
Oh, absolutely. I wanted you to talk about the conference, and I wanted you to also mention about 2012 and whether you think extraterrestrials will be visiting us this year and maybe contacting us through the crystal skulls.
Okay. This is a message that I have personally received, which I cannot verify, and nor can I tell you what is the source other than it is a source that has worked with me all my life to help me in my spiritual work. My sensing is that as we come to the end of 2012, of course, I don't believe the world's going to end like Joyce talked about. I think that what's happening is we're reaching this new beginning. Now, whether or not humanity is ready to have a direct contact with the extraterrestrials, which I agree with Joy, are already here or not, this is totally up to them. I think they have some way to gauge collectively what is the consciousness of humanity and whether we're ready to have a more direct contact. What I'm feeling is there exists a possibility, and again, it depends upon the level of awareness and consciousness in a collective manner on humanity, that the extraterrestrials may do something which I see as a positive 9/11, meaning it is a shock to awaken the divinity within humanity, such as they might show up, like there's been people who've talked about maybe they show up in different cities at the same time, but there has been many cases where there has been strong evidence for the existence of extraterrestrials being here. The one thing that I can think about very quickly of a personal experience was when I was in Peru by Lake Titicaca and looking up in the sky and watching these lights moving around, and they weren't, like planes or any kind of craft that we could think about. They were doing things that were literally impossible. And you talk to the local people in Peru, especially by Lake Titicaca, and they say this is all normal stuff. This is their normal life. So I think there exists before the end of this year a possibility, which could be the reason why so many groups are doing events in December. I mean, we're hearing about a lot of things happen around 12/12/12, 12/21 when the Mayan calendar ends, and we got specific guidance to do our conference on the first 2 days of December. It's kind of a way of working with the energy of the crystal skulls and our crystal skull family in order to kind of like pave the way for this month. So I think that 2012 is going to be the beginning of a new reality that we have not seen consciously, but what form it's going to take, it's completely in the hands of our spiritual family that is around us in spirit, in spacecraft, in the hollow earth, in underground. I mean, they're there, they're waiting, they have a plan of action they're going to do that will be in divine perfection to lift humanity to a higher level. One other thing that came from a medium, which could be another possibility, is there could be two Earths. One Earth will be in the fifth dimension, the other Earth will remain in the third dimension. Some of us may actually ascend into the fifth dimension and have the opportunity to come back into the third, which means we would have a lot more of our spiritual gifts and be awakened, whereas the people in the third dimension might not make it. This medium talked about 2015 as a time when that kind of shift could happen. So you have many theories about this.
Well, then please tell us about your conference that's coming up this weekend, because I'm sure people are going to want to sign up, especially if you're going to be talking about topics like this.
Most definitely, we will be talking about crystal skulls. We have 6 speakers. The best page to go to read about the conference is at crystalskullconferences.com. crystalskullconferences.com, or they can easily find myself under Crystal Skull Explorers. That's the way that we describe ourselves. We also have a website at crystalskullexplorers.com. I looked on Google, and anything about Crystal Skull Explorers will link back to us. And on our main website, we also have a link to the conference. The conference is 2 days. It goes from 10:30 Pacific time till about 2 o'clock Pacific time, or 1:30 Eastern Time to about 5 o'clock Eastern Time each day. We have 3 different speakers that will be speaking each day. Each has a different take, a different perspective of the crystal skulls. One will actually be talking about her communication with the legendary 13 skulls that you mentioned prior. And my talk will probably be focusing more on what is the true purpose and aspect of the skulls, the ET connection, the Atlantean connection, and where we're going forward with the crystal skull. So we're going to have quite an extensive range of speakers. It's very inexpensive to join us. It's a completely online conference, so that means it doesn't matter where you live in the world. You'll be able to log into the website. ATW is the organization providing us the online classroom to do this, and we still have seats that are available. So we encourage people to sign up. We only have 200 people who can attend each day. So this is our first one, and we hope to have more next year.
Okay. Well, very good. Thank you so much, Joshua, for joining us this evening and giving us that great insight into crystal skulls and what's going on with that community. We really appreciate it. So thank you so much for being our guest tonight.
Thank you, John. Always a pleasure.
Okay. Well, take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Okay. Well, we're wrapping up our program this evening. I want to thank our engineer, Joe. I want to thank the people at Epic for allowing me to be a guest host this evening. We made it through our little our difficulty, but you stuck with us, and we appreciate that very much. Now, also, before we let you go this evening, I do want to let you know that if you are in the Dallas area, I'm going to be speaking to several groups in December. The first group that I'm going to be talking to, besides the online Crystal Skull group, December 3rd, I'll be working with the International Near-Death Experience Group. We'll be at the First Methodist Church in Louisville at 7 p.m., and I'll be talking about my book and about psychic development. Then on December 8th, I'll be at the book signing. I'll be doing a book signing at the Barnes & Noble, also in Louisville, Texas, from 2 to 4. And for more information about my appearances or where I'll be in the various parts of the country, please check out my website, john@johncappello.com, or just go to johncappello.com, and you can look at my calendar and see what's going on. So once again, thank you very much for allowing me to be your host tonight, and I hope to come back sometime in the future. Take care.
Thank you for being with us tonight. Please join us again next Monday evening for Extraordinary Phenomena Investigations Council's Epic Voyages. I'm Roger Peacock for Epic. Until next time.